What if I told you that one of the greatest strikers to ever play the game almost never made it? What if I told you he didn't even start playing professional football until he was 18? This is the story of a boy from Ivory Coast who became a legend. This is the story of Didier Drogba. Didier Drogba Tebele was born on March 11, 1978, in Abidjan, Ivory Coast. He was born into a modest family. His father worked as a bank manager, but life in Ivory Coast was far from easy. When Didier was just 5 years old, his parents made one of the hardest decisions a parent can make. They sent him to live with his uncle in France, Michel Goba, who was a professional footballer himself. Imagine being 5 years old, leaving your parents, your home, your country, moving to a strange land where everything is different. That was Drogba's reality. But it was also the moment that changed everything in France. His uncle introduced him to football properly. He trained, he practiced, he dreamed. But when his uncle moved clubs, young Didier was sent back to Ivory Coast and then brought back to France again. This back and forth happened multiple times during his childhood, making it hard for him to settle, to focus, to belong anywhere. Most football superstars sign their first professional contract at 16 or 17. Drogba didn't sign his until he was 18 with a small French club called Le Mans. Even then, nobody was tipping him for greatness. He wasn't a standout. He wasn't the most talented player in the room. He spent years grinding through the lower leagues of French football, Le Mans, Gagnon, Ligue 2, Ligue 1. Slowly, painfully slowly, he was improving. But the breakthrough wasn't coming fast enough. Many players in his position would have given up. Many did. But Drogba kept going. Then came Guingamp, then Marseille, and at Marseille, something clicked. He scored 19 goals, led them to the UEFA Cup final, and suddenly, the whole world was watching. In 2004, Jose Mourinho had just taken over at Chelsea. He wanted a striker, not just any striker, but a warrior. Someone who could lead the line, bully defenders, score big goals in big moments. He chose Didier Drogba for £24 million. Some people laughed. Who was this guy from Marseille? Was he really worth that much? Drogba answered every single doubt. At Chelsea, he became one of the most dominant strikers in Premier League history. He won 4 Premier League titles, 4 FA Cups, 3 League Cups. He was the kind of player who disappeared for stretches of a game, and then in the moment that mattered most, he showed up. Big game player. That was Drogba's identity. If you want to understand who Didier Drogba truly is, you only need to watch one game. May 19th, 2012, the Champions League final. Chelsea vs Bayern Munich, in Bayern's own stadium, the Allianz Arena. Chelsea were losing 1-0 with minutes to go. The dream was dying. And then, Drogba rose highest at a corner kick and headed the ball into the net, 1-1. Extra time. Then in the penalty shootout, with the weight of an entire club on his shoulders, Drogba stepped up and scored the winning penalty. Chelsea were champions of Europe for the first time in their history. Drogba fell to his knees. He wept. The whole stadium held its breath. It was one of the greatest moments in Champions League history, delivered by a man who almost never made it. But here's what separates Drogba from almost every other footballer on the planet. In 2005, Ivory Coast qualified for the Africa Cup of Nations, and the country was in the middle of a brutal civil war, splitting the north and south. After the qualifying match, Drogba grabbed a microphone and made a plea was broadcast across the nation. He begged his countrymen to put down their weapons, to stop fighting, to unite, and they did. Historians and political analysts have credited that moment, that single speech from a footballer, with helping broker a ceasefire in a civil war. A footballer stopped a war. Let that sink in. Drogba went on to play for clubs across the world: Galatasaray, Montreal Impact, Chelsea again, Phoenix Rising. He retired in 2018 at the age of 40, still playing, still loving the game. He is Ivory Coast's greatest ever player. He is one of Chelsea's greatest ever players. He is one of the greatest strikers to ever play the game. But more than all of that, he is proof that it doesn't matter where you start. It doesn't matter how slow the journey is. What matters is that you keep going. From Abidjan to the top of the world, this was the Didier Drogba story. If this story moved you, if it inspired you even a little, hit that subscribe button right now. We tell stories like this every week, stories of footballers who defied the odds, who came from nothing and became legends.